Hello, and welcome to another Cuppa with Casey. It's really loud on this book. Today, as you can see, I'm doing a painting video, so just gonna go straight into it. I've already pre-drawn everything. You can't actually see it because it's very, very light because I didn't want it showing up through the watercolor paint. But I got myself some of this masking fluid and it finally arrived after waiting about 2 months. So I wanted to play with this today and that's what we're doing. So I haven't done anything with it yet because I wanted to do that on camera for you. So this is the one that Haikala, I think her name is, recommends in her, what's it called? Her art box. She uses this, she's put this one in there. So it's got like a really thin nozzle, which I don't know if you can see, and the lid has like a pin in it so that it doesn't get blocked up with the masking fluid and dry and not be usable. So yeah, I'm just gonna try my best not to make a huge mess of this. So right away I'm noticing that I don't really need to put a whole lot of pressure on the bottle at all to get it to come out. When I do squeeze the bottle, it comes out a lot blobbier, get that word, than intended. So just sort of let it run out of the, oh, there's a bubble there. Pop, there we go. Let it run out of the nozzle on its own. This art piece didn't really take a whole lot of thought. I just sort of tried to think of something that I could use the masking fluid for. So it's nothing special, it's not fan art, it's just a drawing of myself. Just so I could use the masking fluid. I did have another idea, but I think it was very much inspired by Tiramiao Sue's recent video, which is awesome, by the way. And I need to, it makes me want to invest in getting some inks to paint with and see how I do with those. But, oh, another bubble. Yeah, I'll link Tiramiao Sue below because their art's awesome, and cat spam because their cat's super cute as well. So the only problem with using this whilst in the very start of my video is now I'm going to have to wait for it to dry before I can continue recording anything. But that's okay, I think. I can go have a snack or something. So the painting process of this piece was a lot of painting one layer, waiting for it to dry, painting another layer, waiting for that to dry, and so on and so forth. And it took me several hours to finally get to the finished product. I'm actually really happy with how this came out. I wasn't expecting to be, not because it's, you know, a bad drawing or I thought it was a bad drawing, but just because I did, you know, some watercolor techniques that I wouldn't normally do, like this whole laying down a wash over the whole piece before coloring the main character and such. And I don't normally do this because watercolor reactivates very easily, especially good watercolor, I guess you could say. It reactivates well to make it easier to paint with or something. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I don't normally do it because I find that when I try to do it this way, the colours just become really muddy because they all mix together and the background's just gross. And that's why I want to get some ink so I can try it better with that. But anyway, I wanted to make sure that I let each layer dry well before going in with the next, because I didn't want it to become a very muddy, gross mess. And I'm really happy with the finished product. And I had a lot of fun doing it, actually, despite having to wait like half an hour in between each layer just to make sure it was dry properly. It was nice to just sort of play with my watercolors instead of stressing about, keeping it within the lines and stuff. I wasn't very exact with this piece. I just sort of let it create itself almost as I went. Yeah. And this is just me trying to mix a skin tone I was happy with. Skin tones are hard. I didn't quite get it as pale as I wanted it to be, but also knowing that it was on top of the background colour, I didn't want it to be too pale, because then you might just not see it at all. So I opted for a slightly more tanned skin tone for myself than I actually have, but that's fine. It'll be summer soon and I can get sunburnt and tanned. I don't like having a tan. I like being pale. Anyway, yes, so this is just me waiting. Okay, so I went in, and this is the point where I realised that I made my pencil lines too pale and I could not really see the sketch underneath the background colour, because I sketched in purple and the background was purple. So it completely obliterated any sketch lines that I had, so I sort of had to wing it and hope that I got it right from guessing where the lines were supposed to be. I also didn't want it to be too flat, so I tried to add some extra tones and blushes and stuff in there as I went. And then trying to mix up correct hair colours. This was difficult because I don't really know how to... I need to work on mixing browns, because I'm just not very good at it. I find that it's never the right shade of brown that I want. It always just looks muddy and gross and dirty, and I want a nice brown that makes my pictures pop, not makes them look muddy and gross. So I just opted for a more yellow colour for the blonder side of my hair, and then the undercut I went with almost just the straight brown from my palette. It's not quite accurate, but it does the trick. you guess the point across, that the shaved side of my hair is different colour than the rest of it, because it's my natural tone, whereas the rest of my hair is bleached, because yay bleach, yay isolation hair colour. Anyway, I don't really have a lot more to say about the process of this. It's very straightforward. I just used lots of really sort of light washes for everything and layered, instead of going in too dark and trying to lift, because I didn't want to lift that background colour and have it make everything muddy. And this is me mixing up the colour I wanted to use for the line art, so I did that, and then I added some darker bits in the corners and things and let it all dry for about an hour before I came back in and did the lines, because I wanted to paint the lines this time. It's like the last few watercolour pictures I've done, I used Prismacolors for the line art, and whilst I do really like how that looks, I wanted to use paint for this one, so I added in these little bits of details, finished any colouring that I wanted to do, and then left it for about an hour before I came back in to do the line art. So There's just some more glowies around the stars in the background. A little bit of extra yellow, a little bit of extra pink and red in the background there with some sort of particles floating around just to give it a bit more depth and dimension. And then I let it all dry and came back in about an hour for the line art. And as you can see, I'm watching Dr. Gluon play his Hotel Sims 4 challenge. Very funny, do recommend. May link below. I've been watching lots of Simmers play recently because I love The Sims, and I have since, the beginning. And I've recently sort of gotten back into playing The Sims 4 quite a lot, and I like watching other people play it. So I usually have it on when I'm doing things like the dishes and laundry and stuff, and when I'm painting. Because Dr. Gluon is funny, and it kept me sane whilst trying to do all these detailed lines, because line art with a brush is difficult. I do enjoy it though, I have lots of fun. I prefer doing line art with a brush than a brush pen, because I can never control brush pens. I don't know why. I don't know what's different about a brush pen to a brush that makes it so hard for me, but painting line art with a brush, so much better than using a brush pen. Just pro tip there. So I used this line art colour for all the bits that would be black if I was using black, but I was doing obviously this dark grape kind of purple colour so that it blended with the rest of the tone of the piece. I didn't want to put black on it because I thought it would be too harsh when I hadn't used black anywhere else in the entire piece, and it was all very purple and blue with that just touch of yellow and orange for the stars in the hair. So yeah, I didn't focus too hard on trying to get the lines to be thin and delicate because the piece was very cartoony, and I thought the thicker lines and just the variation in line width would help that come across a lot nicer than trying to keep everything really thin and detailed. So I went full hog into it and just thick lines and very stark and contrasting from the light washes of the rest of the piece. So I let that dry, then I came back and started removing the masking fluid, which I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do this at first, and then I realised I have fake nails on. So I just used those to get rid of it, which actually worked really well. I normally get my nails done just over my natural nail, but I completely destroyed my nails, so I opted for a tip this time, which actually helped me remove this masking fluid, so yay! There is a benefit to being very picky about how my nails look. It makes my art easier. So I just went over with a very light wash of yellow over the top of the stars in the background because I thought the white was a bit too stark for what I wanted. And then I did the same on the eyes with just a light wash of bluish purple. And then I came in with a Sakura Jelly Roll pen, I believe this is. I've never had one before and I've been hearing good things. So I bought myself one, and yay, it worked for the most part, and then it stopped working. So I don't know if it was the pen itself or the fact that I was trying to draw on top of watercolor paper or what. You'd think the texture would help it work better, but it did not. So I used it for a bit and then it stopped working, so I just went back to my good old Signo, whatever they're called, brush, white gel pen. Yeah, so I had a little bit of trouble doing the eye highlights. I think the eyes are just a little bit damp still, so it was messing with the pen, and this is where I switched to my other white gel pen because this one just stops working. I think. Alright, maybe not just yet. I added a thin white border around the character just to give it a little bit of pop from the background. And I did that all the way around. Sort of kept it sketchy looking, just in the areas like the hair and stuff where I added some strands. I didn't want to go all the way around those, so I just sort of did one edge just to give the illusion of a white border, and then yeah, and then we peel off all the masking tape, and this is where I realised that the watercolour went under the masking tape, and this is where I switched to my other gel pen, that's right, because this one stopped working. So I just went with my gel pen over the bits that leaked under the masking tape because I wanted that crisp white border, and so I just scribbled over them with white gel pen. It probably would have been easier if I'd used a Posca pen or maybe some white gouache, but I could not be bothered looking for either of those things, so I just used my white gel pen. And this is the finished piece. So thanks so much for watching. Comment below on what you'd like to see in my next video, and like, subscribe, follow me on all my other things, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.